Yeah. Well, see, if you look at in a particular manner, and you see every state which allows abortion for of physically disabled people for becoming for being disabled, and there are some countries which don't don't allow abortions for a particular period of month. But if the case is of disability, they allow throughout the trimester, like throughout the 9 months, the baby could be aborted in many countries, though that is the law. So uh, in my opinion, those countries are what I would call as Hitler states, because Hitler didn't just kill Jews. Jews were one of the major popular people who were killed by Hitler in Holocaust. Hitler also killed physically disabled people, and the reason why he killed physically disabled people was he thought that these people are not fit to live, slash they might have difficulty to live. That's what Hitler thought. And what today the doctors think, what today the world thinks, who are going to abort these babies, they make their own decision that these babies are going to are having difficulty to live. I mean, we are sure that they would be having difficulty to live, but does that mean just because they are going to have difficulty to live, that's just because they are going to be, state needs to spend bit more resources for making those people for physically disabled people accessible in their there are different arenas to be made accessible. Just because of that, do you think that it is worthy to be for them to be killed? And one important thing about India is this: in India, the female abortion is banned, which means that sex selective abortion is banned, because many because India, you could call Marxists call it a patriarchal society, just like you here. But it's not just a patriarchal in your sense, but also a society which doesn't have welfare measures in place, especially for a large population like what's there in India, with so much of poverty and with so much of other socio-economic issues. Welfare measures don't work very well. So the only welfare measure that people have is to have children. Now, in that also, the custom almost amongst many religions practiced in India, even in Hinduism, amongst many regions practiced in India, amongst many geographical regions, this is the custom that when two people get married, the bride goes to the house of the bridegroom and lives with the bridegroom. So bridegroom stays in the very house he was born and he was raised up in, with his parents, that is to say with his own biological parents, while the bride has to move to her in-laws parents and live with the in-laws, live with her husband in the house of the in-laws, and serve the parents who serve the parents of the husband. Now, because of that, what happens is that people don't want to get girl child, because if there are too many girl child, first of all, you have to feed them, you have to educate them, you have to need to parent them, and at the end of the day, they would be going away to somebody else's house, which means they won't be an asset to you, perhaps, because um, you know she would be serving in somebody else's house and working for them. She won't be serving in your house. So it's very important that you have some boys, so that some boys would be here, so their wives would come in, and their wives would come and live with you, okay, so and serve you. um, and because of this reason, there were so many abortions done. because people could identify whether this is a boy or girl, and if it's a girl, kill the girl. Now, technically, according to the pro-choice argument, the you know the life of the unborn doesn't matter. So if you kill a baby, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have any soul. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have any consciousness, life, or so on and so forth. It's just a piece of cell, right? So if it's just a piece of cell, uh, then why is it that and if it's just a piece of cell, then why is it that if girls are there, it's you cannot kill them. You cannot kill with sex selective abortions, and that is because people think it's not just that, okay, who would, in that sense humanity would become a disaster. There would be more many more men than women, and which is the case. But in my opinion, it's more than that. If you are killing a girl child because she is a girl, that's hampering the dignity of the womanhood in general. Every woman's dignity is affected when the society is ready and is accepting that a mother or a father can kill a girl child because she is girl. And because that dignity of that woman is affected, that's the reason why abortions, sex selective abortions, are banned in India. And that should be and that's the reason, even if this problem wouldn't happen, in my opinion, parents should never be saying that, okay, I want a boy or I want a girl. If there isn't a boy or if there isn't a girl, I would abort this baby. That's just so mean, and that's just so inhuman. Just like killing any baby, in an abortion clinic is inhuman. But what's most inhuman for me is this as well, or equally inhuman, in my opinion, is this: killing a physically disabled child just because he is physically disabled is equally harmful for the dignity, and it equally attacks the dignity of all the physically disabled people in the world. If a society is a society which says that, these physically disabled people, if a person is physically disabled person, he could be killed, that very act, even though it's in the womb, that very act, and even though you don't recognize that the consciousness, that the baby has consciousness, or the baby has life, etc., even if you are a pro-choice, uh, in the that very act of killing the person because he is physically disabled would be against the dignity of the all the physically disabled persons um, in the world, and definitely in the country. And this is just a Hitler regime, because they would have difficulty to live in. They would be a bit more difficult for them to live in. Kill them. We need perfect, efficient people. So just kill all those people who don't belong in that line. And that's the thing that India practices today as well. Now, uh, there is also one more thing that can be said here. India gives reservations to physically disabled people. In the in every university, government university, you have 5% reservation for physically disabled people. In government jobs, you have reservations for physically disabled people. Those physically disabled people who don't have enough money, can government gives them some kind of stipends or something like that. And all these measures are taken by the government for the welfare of physically disabled people. My question is, if what kind of a state you are, if on one hand you say, okay, it's all good if you are going to kill a baby, even for a disabilities like Down syndrome, which in my opinion hardly could be called as a disability, because the person just needs more time to do what he is doing, and that's it. I mean, that is so cruel. Even, and these are one of the most abortion issues. People who are suffering from Down syndrome, they are the ones who are aborted. And why they are aborted? Simply because of the fact that uh, you know society doesn't in the eyes of the society they are too slow to work. Look at, I mean, this world needs to, and especially the western world needs to take a time. You learn meditation from Indians and so on. No, just don't do that. Just take a time and just simply look around you and think, is this the country you are living? That a mother or a father has a right to kill their babies if they happen to be physically disabled. You don't allow people to kill their dogs in their backyard, and you allow people to kill their babies because they are physically disabled. What kind of a country you are? What kind of a states all these Western nations are? Horrible, literally horrible.